Welcome back to my series. We're talking about raising women this month, and I've invited my daughters because they're the women I raised. Bria and Brenna McCarty are in his house with me. I want to make sure you catch last week. If you didn't catch last week, make sure you go and watch it. This week, we're going to talk about some things I did wrong. Actually, just little missteps. We're not gonna say wrong. I want to talk about that because I want to help you. You're raising women. Remember we talked about it last week? They're not just little girls, they're little women, and they're taking in all of it, and one day they're gonna grow up and contribute to society or not contribute to society. So girls, what you got? You got something in your arsenal you've been wanting to tell people, tell the world?
Well, I think for me personally,
I'm glad I have my wine. I've got my wine. I might need the bottle.
for me personally, you say, yeah, sure. I would highly encourage all people that are going to have children to make sure you're in a loving relationship or not in one at all before you have a kid. Not even okay, let me backtrack. Make sure you're in a loving relationship with yourself.
Yes, come on, preach, sister. That's so true.
Like my mom had me really young, and
did.
she was not in a healthy relationship, and so the first few years of my life were tumultuous and
Toxic, actually.
very toxic, and has affected me in my adult life because your child forms its habits. Your child forms habits
From the womb.
Like they understand what's going on, and they feel the feelings that the mother feels. It changes their hormonal balances. And I know that you can't predict every time you're having a child, but I do think it's important that, you know, if you're going to have a child or if you are doing acts that could potentially produce children, just to be mindful that you're creating life. If I could say, like, the biggest mishap, not that you had me, but it's just that I was born into a very broken home.
Yeah,
I've had to personally deal with lots of things because of that.
absolutely. Yeah, I got pregnant when I was 19 with Bria, and I had her when I was 20. And I was in a toxic relationship. My pregnancy, my entire pregnancy, I was stressed, worried. I had 3 baby showers. I was well loved, people at work, my family. But the stress that I was under, I didn't feel happy most of my pregnancy. I felt worried and stressed, not sure if I was in the right relationship. Actually, I knew I wasn't, and how the toxicity of that relationship was impacting me physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and I was carrying a child. Yeah, great advice. Just know that when you are in a relationship, it impacts you whether you're pregnant or not.
Right.
But when you're pregnant, it not just impacts you, but it impacts your baby. I love that, you know, the idea is, you know, you fall in love and you choose the person you're gonna have your children with, and that it's as healthy as you can, that you have the knowledge to make it at that time, right? But really working on being a happy person, complete in yourself before you start having children, because that spills over into them at the very conception, through pregnancy, and then it was 2 years before that relationship came to an end and I started kind of getting my life together. Unfortunately, for Bria, she was the reason why I got my shit together. She really was the person that was in my life that really helped me to kind of like snap out of that stupidness and like get it together. Yeah, I think that that's great advice, and that we're really annoyed by this fly. We're gonna kill it so it's not in our next vlog.
God.
He wants to be in the vlog. But she's 25, so she's still having to deal with the aftermath of all of that.
I was 5 years old when Brenna was born, and I feel like she was born into a very healthy home, a very like loving environment where not everybody was perfect. Like her parents are not perfect, but at the same time they were both actively working to be better people.
Right.
And to really love each other and learn how to be loved. When I look back and compare, like me and my sister, I can see the difference that made for both of us. And so while all that is true, you know, I'm sure that there are people who have kids and you didn't mean to get pregnant or like whatever. So stuff happens, but it is really important that their environment is healthy.
Amen. I'm a witness. Yeah. Brenna, you want to talk about my negative qualities?
Something that I've had to like work through, which is not totally your fault. You carrying some of that weight from your previous relationship and the fear that you had into like raising me. Fear of
You're right, girl. This is a good one.
a lot of fear of just men.
Yes.
Even though I had a great, like, dad is amazing, like amazing. I did struggle and still do with fear of just men because of, I think, your fear
My baggage.
that you still carried.
Yeah.
And I know as I get older, I realize that it is a process and you aren't perfect and fine and dandy 10 years later.
Right.
Or 20 years later, but yeah, that's something that I've had to
Yeah, it's
like
interesting.
work through.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I even remember being little and I remember you just being like, hold my hand and like, don't talk to random men alone. I can see the intention behind that and like the reasoning behind that. It makes total sense. I blew that up to like, oh, he's trying
Bad.
to, all men are bad
Yeah.
besides dad. Yeah.
I think that definitely comes from how I was raised. I was raised in a home with women. My mother adopted me when I was a baby, and her mother raised me. So my mother and my grandmother raised me. They had horrible experiences with men, and the bigger message was don't trust men.
Yeah.
That they are out to get something, take something from you, or at the end of the day, you're gonna be hurt. So why bother? When, again, last vlog, when you model something in front of your women, your girls that you're raising, it becomes embedded in them. And that's not something that just gets plucked out because I met a great guy and married him, right? Like that is still, I'm still working through that. Through relationships that I've had that we've talked about with Bria's father, through other relationships, my experience has confirmed that that's true. Except my current experience with your dad, right? Like, but all my other experiences has confirmed, don't trust them, don't trust them, don't trust them. So as much as I loved Ryan and he, Brenna's dad, and then he adopted Bria and we had this loving home, there still was this underlining skepticism and distrust of him too, right? Like there was a level where I was like, well.
Before they were getting married, I would have like nightmares.
Yeah, you
And
were scared.
I was terrified. One time I like woke up in the night. I had this horrible nightmare about my dad, about Ryan, and like called him in the middle of the night, like, "Are you gonna cheat on my mom?"
Yeah.
Like at age like
she was little.
like 4, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Like that's wild.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was here.
I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah, she was having nightmares. Like that's because of my, like what I was carrying. It's a lot. It's a lot to like realize like, wait, that's a big statement to make, all men. That's a big statement to make. But
And
again,
a wrong statement.
It is. It's not true.
Yeah. My mom we took the Enneagram, so my mom is a type 1. If you
you
care
know
about
what that is,
that, you should check it out. It's this really interesting form of psychology that my sister introduced to me recently.
Thank you, Brenna.
Thank you, Brenna. And so she's a type 1, which is the what?
The reformer.
The reformer.
I'm a type 4, which is like the individualist. And Brenna is a type
7, which is the enthusiast.
Yeah.
So my mom being a type 1, she's very, like they said, a perfectionist. So I think that like that definitely was something that affected me as a kid. It was like I wanted to be the best at everything.
Or perfect.
Or perfect, probably. I always joke that like I heard somebody say one time they were a recovering perfectionist. I think it's Brene Brown. She talks about how she's a recovering perfectionist, and I definitely feel that as well.
Yeah.
It was about silly stuff. You know, like we were never allowed to wear like light up shoes.
Or Heelys. I
Barbie shoes. I mean,
She couldn't handle it.
so weird. Like, why
It's
did I
weird.
just let her? That's sad.
It is sad.
is.
But
She wanted those wheelie shoes.
No, that was
You
me.
got me some.
No, that was me.
You got me some.
No, did I?
Yeah.
You got Heelys?
Yeah, but they were a
you-
size 8.
But then because they were on clearance.
They were a size 8, so I only like took them to
Then,
school.
okay,
twice.
so she wore them a couple times, and then I read this thing that said they were bad for your feet, like they're bad for your posture, they're jack your feet up. So then when Brenna wanted them, I said, no. To be completely honest, I think that I am a 1 on the Enneagram, which is controlling and all of that, judgmental and all that.
Well, you know, it's
And
just
I'm-
reforming. Yeah, but she wants
She
to
did.
reform to what she
You're
thinks
welcome.
is best. So it might not be what is best, but it's what
I
she
think
thinks
is best. Right. I think it comes from a place of just me personally being a perfectionist, wanting to prove as a young mom that I got this.
That's it.
So I didn't want her showing up at the family reunion with some basketball shorts and her hair looking crazy, right? Because somehow I believed that that was a reflection on my motherhood and how good I was doing by myself without her dad. And so, and even with Brenna, like my husband and I co-founded and pastored a church, and there was a little bit of like, y'all can't be looking crazy around the city,
Yeah,
you know,
you need
like
to
there
be-
was a little
Well, the
bit.
moment we stepped out of our door at her house, someone would say hi.
Yeah,
Like,
everybody
someone
knew
would
us.
see
We
us.
lived in a small town. I didn't like do everything everybody wanted me to do, like as a pastor in town or co-pastor, like do this, be this, whatever. I went against the grain. I was a little like independent
Very
and
much
kind of
so.
on the fly. But there was a part of me that was like, let me go ahead and brush your hair
Yeah,
and
they're
take
cute.
those Crocs off your feet. As the girls have gotten older and we've had lots of conversations and we talk about that kind of stuff, I've realized like, oh my gosh, like I wouldn't even let them have a cup on the, coffee table for a few hours. I'd just go and be like, okay, we're gonna clean that up. Like, but then there were times where I was like rollerblade through the house.
Yeah,
like,
that's one of my favorite memories.
Go, get your longboards out and you can go on my wood floors and I don't care. But I would be like, I could feel myself being like, oh my God. So I could say like do that, but that energy was still there.
So it's such a hard, like, line.
It
It's
is.
such a fine
It is a fine line because I
line.
do feel like the way I am is because like you taught me certain things about
Yeah.
society and like being social and being accepted, but there is a fine line. Like, what if I was allowed to wear the Barbie light up shoes? Would it have increased my creativity? What if I was
Or your
allowed
confidence.
to, and my confidence? What if I was allowed to wear whatever I wanted all the time?
Yeah.
How would I dress now? What would I have been more comfortable doing? What would I have pursued creatively and things like that?
I remember you saying, like, which I still struggle with this, sorry, Mom, but like making my bed, I remember you being like, what if Oprah comes to our front door and knocks on the door right now and she wants to look throughout our house and she sees your bed messy?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, interesting. And so it's kind of like being on your game, ready, preparing for like whatever's to come.
Yeah.
And that's like a huge gift because now, like, in the season I'm in, I'm like preparing and tilling the soil, and I'm not fully sure for what yet, but I know to like get up and make my bed,
Same.
you know?
Probably wrapping this up, but with all of what was said and with the vlog previously, with all the good, there's not so good. And with all the not so good, there is good. It's really tough to say like, oh Mom, like you did all these wrong things
Yeah.
and I'm so damaged because of it, because there's like gifts in it. And there's always like gifts in the bad things too. So
Yeah, be
Always.
encouraged if you're missing the mark like
You're
I
human.
did. You're human.
You're
And we
human.
do our best, right?
Yeah,
we do our
and that
best.
I feel like that's what it is. Like we said that in the previous vlog. It's like, yeah, my parents missed some marks in my life for sure, but also they were actively doing the best that they could, and there's no possible way that you're not going to damage your kids.
Right. Everybody's got a little dysfunction.
Everybody has some dysfunction. Like,
We're messy.
and like, as much as like Brenda and I are both self-aware, when we do have children, we're probably going to damage them.
Yeah. So my challenge for you in wrapping up week 2 of Raising Women is to be the best you can be and do your best. Really think about, are you doing your best and are you being your best? And what do you need to do to be your best and to do your best? Because some people say they're doing their best and you know you ain't doing your best, right? What are some things that you can do in your life, or shift or change or whatever? Give your kids a little bit more room to be expressive and to get messy and or to get clean, make the bed. Like, what are those things that you can, encourage them to do? But at the end of the day, like, do your best. Like, do your best with your kids, and just know you're gonna miss the mark sometime, and know you're gonna fail, and they are gonna be all right, because they are creative, they're resourceful, and they are whole. All right? Thank you for tuning in to week 2. We'll see you next week. Bye. That was a good one, guys.
I have to pee.
We gotta kill these flies.